You are listening to the Jboy Show, your number one source for Auburn and the SEC.
My goal was to run through his soul and grab his heart when I run through his soul.
Kurt, Nate, Coach Staff, those are memories.
I think we've established ourselves as, I think, the premier conference in college football.
Now, the SEC is better at the top. It's better in the middle.
The Southeastern Conference remains the premier conference.
Takes the snap. Looking for the receiver. He's got Lutz and Kirkett. Touchdown, Auburn!
Think about it. It's always been the SEC and everybody else trying to catch it.
I think this is probably the best league from a competitive venue standpoint.
They have the most capable teams. You just look at those programs, the way they recruit, how they invest.
Snap to Burrow. 3 steps. Fires. Back corner of the end zone. Over the shoulder catch. Did he hold on? He did. Justin Jefferson. Touchdown, Tigers.
And now, your host, Jboy.
All right, welcome everybody. Appreciate you guys joining us on another recruiting roundup with one of the most plugged-in guys you're going to find, our one of our top recruiting insiders. You can find him at Dukes the Scoop on Twitter, and that is Mr. Phillip Dukes. Dukes, what is good, my guy?
Hey, what's going on, Jboy?
Hey.
Glad to be back, man. Great day in Atlanta. Hope it's the same wherever you are.
Man, it is. It's beautiful outside, man, and there's, I know there's been a lot of movement. There's some stuff we got to talk about, man. And again, I really appreciate you coming on, and our audience really appreciates you. And again, like I said, I tweeted this out. Go follow this man. Go follow everybody that we're associated with at Dukes the Scoop, at King Tay. That's KVN 3Gs _ TAY, at Eli Gravitt, and then at Ramon at Grind So Hard 288. These guys know their stuff, but again, like I said, Dukes, appreciate you, man.
All right, no problem, bro.
All right, well, let's get into it, dude. Let's start with a guy that me and you think is one of the top guys, if not the top guy on Auburn's board, and that's linebacker Smael Mondon. Last time we talked, we really talked a lot about Auburn and Georgia. Is there another team kind of creeping in there?
Yeah, definitely. So I alluded to this last week in a couple of tweets, and there have been some articles posted about the emergence of Tennessee, who's always been around, but they're making some major moves right now. I think his relationship with Niedermeyer, the linebackers coach, is really key to his recruitment right now.
Mm-hmm.
In the times of society right now, there are a lot of other questions that kids are asking besides how fast am I going to play. Yeah. And one of them is, what is your response going to be towards some of these social injustices that are going on? With Smael, he's a kid that, and forgive me for saying kid, but he's the type of guy that wants to know he's going to want to know that where he lands is going to be culturally sound for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important for somebody to understand the culture and understand what he's going through. And I think if you look at any of his interviews or anything that's been posted about him, it's always bigger than football. He has his mind on what's after football already. Yeah. So the linebackers coach at Tennessee, Niedermeyer, he actually went to HBCU, which gives him a unique perspective.
It does.
In order for him to understand some things that the average coach wouldn't, being average Caucasian coach, let's just say.
Yeah, because he is Caucasian. He's for our audience that doesn't know. And again, we're just telling you the fact. Coach Niedermeyer at Tennessee, Caucasian male, went to an HBCU, so it is an interesting situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that his ability to understand parts of the culture that some haven't, and his exposure outside of football and being in the I guess the whole black college experience is something that Smael is curious about. It's something that there are a lot of big time names. If you notice, even Mikey Williams, the number one basketball recruit in the world right now. I think it's 10th, 9th, 10th grade.
Yeah,
he's even putting out some flirts about possibly going to an HBCU.
Wow.
So kids are curious, and this time, in this time right now, I think the culture is really important, and we see that the country is coming together and supporting each other, and trying to make it a unified thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing that Smael is looking for right now, outside of just what's on the field.
Now, do you think Smael is happy with the way Auburn has responded to everything you've talked about? Do you think Auburn has, done a good job of clearing that up to him?
Knocked it out the park.
Okay.
Absolutely great response. Gus couldn't have done it any better. And I think there are multiple recruits that were impressed by what Auburn did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the show of solidarity between the team and Gus leading the way, there were some people saying, okay, well, what took Gus so long? Well, I like what Gus did because he was slow to speak, because you have to listen first so you don't put your foot in your mouth.
Exactly.
And I think that a lot of people want politics and sports to stay separate, but right now it's not possible.
Yeah.
And it isn't. So at this point, I think that by being slower to speak and more eager to listen and showing through actions and not just empty words.
Yeah.
Gus and Auburn were able to make some moves in the minds of a few key recruits.
Yeah, and again, I think, like you said, they've knocked it out of the park, and it is a big deal, and something that you've alluded to, that I've alluded to, and I want to kind of move on to another guy that there's a lot of smoke around right now for Auburn, and this is a guy that you've been, on a tear, knowing what's going on, and that's Xavian Sorey. Can you kind of tell us how you feel about where Auburn is and who's really in it right now with Sorey?
So I think it's been presumed the whole while that it was Alabama's to lose. And I think that Auburn and Florida are really in it for Sorey right now.
Really?
Auburn increased, I want to say, I made a thinly veiled tweet about 2-3 weeks ago about a big-time Zoom meeting with the 5-star recruit. And I was mentioning Sorey, so Auburn's been on him pretty hard. I think that the biggest thing for Sorey is going to be being where he's from, and he's not really interested in the bright lights, and I need to be near the city. I think the Auburn family atmosphere is going to be huge when he gets back to campus, and knowing that he was able to get to campus before the pandemic, it lingered. I think Florida's somebody to really watch. They're making a very powerful move. They've got guys that he's familiar with that are going to Florida, that are recruiting him, some of his friends and some other athletes that are pushing him towards Florida. And I think they've always been there. I think they've done a great job recruiting him. You just got to call a spade. But to talk about Auburn's effort, we are definitely in it. I've got some very positive feedback as far as, let's say, the dream scenario.
Yeah,
we get Sorey and Mondon both want to come.
Wow.
And there's been a whole lot of talk about Auburn only taking one. If that were to happen, there would be a spot created.
Yeah, without a doubt. You have to.
Right. And then also, another piece on Sorey is that he is one of the best, well, let me say this. He's one of the most explosive athletes that I have seen on tape in a long time at that size. And I'm not just talking about what he does on the football field. This guy has to have a 40-inch vertical. There's a tweet on my page. He actually retweeted me where I got a highlight of him dunking a basketball. And if you can just imagine how high up he's really in the air. And when you think about him guarding these 6'6", 6'7" tight ends, that's what Auburn's seeing. Exactly. When you go back and you look at Sorey's film, you're not seeing a whole lot of bone-shattering hits, or you're not seeing a whole bunch of quarterback sacks. You're projecting what he could be in the right system.
Yeah.
And being in such a small program at Graceville, he's having to be everything. I've seen him play some receiver. I've seen him play safety. I've seen him rush the end. I've seen him run the ball as a tailback and a fullback, and I've seen him be a lead blocker.
Yeah.
So if he could ever be able to focus on one thing, which I presume would be the inside linebacker at Auburn, or outside with his athleticism, I think he's going to be phenomenal to watch for a long time.
Yeah, and if Auburn were to somehow get Mondon and Sorey, that would have to be the best linebacker class in the country. I don't care if it's just two people. Those are two guys that, number one, like we've said, Smael Mondon is to me, it's the top player on Auburn's board. But Sorey is a guy, his potential is limitless. Like you said, he has NFL athleticism. He's going to have an NFL body, and you really don't know how great he can be until he does narrow that focus to one position. And I agree. I think that the linebacker position, especially the inside linebacker position, is something that is going to be his forte. But I want to touch on a guy. And again, it's a guy that me and you, we really haven't talked about a lot, but that's Christian Leary. And I don't want to stay on it too long. We put out a prediction from the Jboy Show that Christian Leary would commit to Auburn. We're going to stick with that from what we've heard. But again, with him being 5'9", Dukes, who does he remind you of? And what do you like about his game?
So I see him as sort of if you were to take the speed of Anthony Schwartz, and I'm not, and trust me, I'm not just saying that he's faster than Flash, but I'm saying just imagine the wheels, the straight line speed of Anthony Schwartz, and you get him and you put him in the body of Ryan Davis, that 5'9" agile guy, get in and out of his cuts, makes the short catches, the bubble screen guy, the quick slant guy, and even I've even heard, well, actually, just talking around football with you, we both kind of compared him to Jalen Waddle without even knowing.
Yep.
So I like both of those comparisons. I love his game. I think he's a threat to take it all the way anytime he's on the field, especially in Auburn's offense. We've always had those smaller guys that are good for the short game, but he could. I don't think we've ever had the guy that was a threat to take it.
That's the key.
In that role, So you have the guys with the sure hands. You know the guys that are going to get you the first downs. But just imagine Ryan Davis with Anthony Schwartz speed, and I think that's why he's been so highly recruited, even being an undersized player at 5'9".
Yeah, and you made a great point when we talked about him before the show. He is only 5'9", and to be 5'9", and to have the offers that he has, you have to be a special type of player. You have to be a special type of athlete. And I think this is one, again, like I said, we predict him. I think Auburn's going to end up getting him. We're going to talk a little bit more about him when we get Tay on next week. But moving on a little bit to a guy that me and you've talked about a lot that we absolutely love, and I'm moving to the corner position. I want to talk some Nyland Green because I put out a tweet and Auburn's surging with him a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely I think it was about a few weeks ago I got tipped off to say that to see how high he was on Auburn's board, and it was really surprising. And I'm not going to say he's in front of anybody. I'm not going to say he's behind anybody. I'm just going to say that he's one of the highest rated players on Auburn's board. They're absolutely crazy about his tape and his fit. He reminds me a little bit of Carson Davis with that height, that length, that ability to get.
I love that comp.
To get in and out of his breaks. And he can be physical, and he's a very smart player. If you watch Nyland Green, he at the high school level, you see guys, they take, and I call it cheat bait. And what I mean by that is like, so you got guys that'll play under, and they know that the comeback is coming, so they'll sit, and they always get beat by the double move because they're trying to give the bait, right?
Yeah, they're under leveraged.
Exactly. Great. Thanks, Coach.
Hey, believe me, I used to be on the sidelines literally biting my fingernails off whenever I saw him do it.
Right, exactly. And Nyland is so fluid that he can offer up the cheat bait and still be able to stand up to the double move. And I've seen it time and time again. You're not going to beat him. The post comeback, the post versus the comeback combo that a lot of guys use, and the out and up that a lot of guys use. Nyland Green is just saying, okay, that's not there. I'm going to turn my hips and I'm getting up the field. And he's tall enough. So if you notice there's the trend of the 6'4" receiver, the 6'5" receiver, he's tall enough to get up and high point the ball and make and actually challenge at the point of attack when it comes to the ball. So I definitely love his tape. Clemson, he's been trending Clemson a long time. Everybody assumed that he would go to Clemson. But Auburn really is making it difficult. He's talking to multiple coaches. It's not just his position coaches. From what I hear, Crime Dog does love him, but it's not just him. He's talking to multiple coaches on the staff, and they're definitely making him a priority. And I think he'll be a great addition to any roster. But I could just see him. When I see him, he just looks like Carlton Davis all over again.
Like I said, I love that comp. So you would say Auburn's putting the full court press on him?
Yes, they are. The Atlanta area is ridiculous this year. So we were talking about, especially at the DB, at cornerback and safety. I saw a guy from Westlake High School. They got two D1 corners. One committed to Ole Miss earlier. They had another guy they think is going to USC. And the area recruiter here is just it's kind of mind blowing at how much talent that they have in the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
I just can't wait for the football season to get here. So people can really start to see people on the field and see how they progress since their junior year. I think one thing that we're losing in recruiting is we just lost a whole spring of football.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the guys that grew up in that spring. Think about all the guys who grew an inch, who got a little bit faster, who cut some of that baby fat. Some of the guys who got more serious and more dedicated to their craft in that spring before the fall. So I think by losing the summer circuit, I think by losing a lot of the 7-on-7, I think that it's going to be very imperative that people will pay attention to the film this year and not let rankings or stars dictate who you want. And I think Auburn is doing an amazing job of sticking to their board. Even when it's coming out, even when we may be taking flack, oh, well, how do you let this guy get out of here? And how do you get this guy, or he was a lock to come to Auburn. How do we lose him?
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is that some of these guys we aren't losing. And I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Some of these guys we aren't losing, and there are going to be some things that come out about the process and why things didn't happen the way they did with certain players. But believe you me, Auburn is sticking to their process, and they have recruited in such a way that they're able to take the guys that they want.
Yeah.
There's no longer we're taking the days of, he didn't want to go to Georgia, he didn't want to go to Bama, he didn't want to go here, so we luckily got him. No, we are recruiting, and we're recruiting who we want. And I think that makes a huge difference because we're recruiting Auburn men.
Yeah.
So if you notice in the past, we've had guys that may have had the high rankings and they haven't worked out. And it's happened time and time again at Auburn, and the visibility is so high on the 5 stars that we do get because we're not getting a whole lot of them. But you got to understand, look at the 5 stars that Auburn gets, and then look at the guys that Auburn is putting in the league. And think about some of the guys that we were just so crazy about. Oh my God, we got the number 1 player in America that ends up making 10 or 11 tackles for us in his career. So I think the way that we have recruited, we have put ourselves in a position in order to be picky, and I think Auburn is exercising that right now.
Exactly, and I believe, honestly, that's how you build an identity on a football team. You're recruiting guys with a similar mindset, with similar goals that fit, not only the physical aspect of what you want, but the mental aspect of what you want. And it's amazing if you can do that. Once you get to that point, that's how the machine, just keeps growing and culture is built and it becomes the norm, and it's how you win. That's the key. And that's what every coach is striving to and striving for. Man, I want to close. One guy, we're going to talk about Kool-Aid next week. Going to talk about Marquise Robinson, some O-linemen, Noah Josie, Cameron Kitchens, those type guys. I want to talk about Jeremiah Williams for 1 second. Just, again, you're hearing it's Auburn, Bama, Auburn, Bama, Auburn, Bama. Where are you at with that kind of right now from the outside looking in?
I think that there is fire where there is smoke. It is Auburn, Bama. It's been reported at multiple sites that have said how close he is to Coach Malzahn, and I think he's just he just screams Auburn lineman to me. When I look at his tape, I see where he can develop, but there's not a whole lot of projecting that you have to do with his game. There's going to be some of the technical things that he's going to have to work on. Mm-hmm. But I think this is an overall football player, and where he stands today, he probably would be the best fit for Auburn right now, and if I were to guess, he will probably be one of the top 2 or 3 on Auburn's board.
Again, Dukes, you're always bringing the heat. Great information. You're not going to get this anywhere else. Again, go follow this guy at Dukes the Scoop. I've said it multiple times. Y'all know I never lie to y'all. I just appreciate you coming on, and let's do it next week, man.
All right, no problem. I'll see you, man.
Hey, appreciate you. And again, follow this guy on Twitter. Is there anywhere else anybody can see, or are we just talking Twitter here, Dukesy?
I got some things bubbling right now. I'm not going to put out, but
yeah, I just had to see if there's any,
Yeah, hey, I can see how you were a good recruiter. You almost got me to commit right there.
Well, man, I know if it's something that you do, it's going to be fantastic, and it's the information will be outstanding. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
I believe we'll do it again next week.
Hey, sounds good. I plan on it, brother. Be safe. You have just listened to another recruiting edition, the recruiting roundup with at Dukes the Scoop, Mr. Phillip Dukes, one of the best insiders when it comes to Auburn recruiting, or really recruiting in general in the game. Had some great information. Again, remember, you guys can follow us at the Jboy Show on Twitter, on Instagram. We need more Instagram followers. You can follow us at the Jboy Show, DAJBOYSHOW. We're growing really fast. Again, that's all thanks to you guys. We're going to keep giving you all this information. Made a prediction yesterday that 4-star point guard Bobby Pettiford was going to commit to Louisville. He just did, which means we are still batting 1,000. Shout out to Eddie Lygraven on that one. He was all over it. Again, that's what we do, and we're going to keep trying to do it. Not saying we're perfect, but right now, technically, we're perfect. But, it's something we're going to keep working on. Appreciate you guys. Remember, if you need any PR stuff, any branding stuff, the Investor Brand Network, you can find them at investorbrandnetwork.com. They help us. They do an unbelievable job. And the intro you heard, it's brand new. Of course, that's our guy Faison at Faison Beats, Feyzan. He's unbelievable. And again, I appreciate you guys joining us. And Jboy is gone.